Just quit already. Haha, my powerhouses. So I'm going to talk about quitting today and doing the things that we typically have like this negative connotation around and feel super guilty with. But quitting gets a bad rap. And of course, there's all these like societal pressures and stigmas around the word. However, it can actually be a good thing, and it is okay to quit. And we've all heard the expression like quit while you're ahead. So this is what that is all about. And so I think we all face these unique challenges, right? Is being a female entrepreneur and being in a leadership role and feeling as though if we start something, we need to finish it, right? And that might be because we have this belief that number one, we said it out loud and everybody is watching. So if we quit, are we going to look like a failure? What are people going to think? Are they going to think I don't have as much grit, or I am not as smart as I thought I was, or oh shit, I'm wrong? There's an ego thing, right? And then, am I leading the way that I want to? If I quit, who am I letting down? And so there's all these little thoughts that go around it, but sometimes we make decisions and do things or commit to doing something, and then partway through it have this recognition that maybe this wasn't a great idea, or I actually hate this, I don't want to do it, or I'm feeling completely overwhelmed and burnt out. And so therefore, quitting can actually be a very good thing. And when you're able to be self-aware about that and recognize it, it's also giving permission for other people to know it's okay. So maybe remove that stigma around it. And I'll give you a few examples, and maybe this will help. And so one of them, and of course, it has to do with fitness, haha, but I had on my bucket list to do a figure competition. I don't know why. I just thought it would be cool. I've always admired other women who have done that for their athleticism, their discipline, the commitment. And so I just wanted to show me I could do it. And so I hired a coach. I had someone helping me with my nutrition, telling me what to eat, fitness. I did the whole thing. I followed the diet. I followed the fitness plan, and I was honestly having a ton of fun with it. I like a good challenge until it came to the point of which I had to start cutting calories and restricting to start trimming down to get quote unquote, show ready. And when that happened, I was day one, kids. I know. When I had to start eating less, and I was just a raging lunatic. I was miserable, hangry, and for those of you who don't know me, I go from 0 to 100 real quick. And when I am hungry, I am just a monster. I can't help it. Sorry. I don't know. I've been that way my whole life. And so I got through day one and I was like, okay, this really sucks, but I think I can do it. Day two, misery. Day three, I had to reckon with myself and say, man, is this worth it? Do I want to do it? I sent a WhatsApp to my two best friends and I talked about everything. And I'm like, man, guys, I think I'm going to quit. This isn't for me. I don't have a career where I have the ability or privilege to have brain fog, to be miserable, to not be on top of my game. And so what I ended up doing was quitting. I decided not to do it. I decided the best thing for myself, my friends, my family, my business, my clients, everything was best for me to not do it. However, I was very public about doing this. And so I had this internal feeling of shame. And holy crap, if I quit now, what are people going to think? And so I had to reconcile all of that. And then I talked about why I quit publicly, right? And I did that, and it didn't feel fabulous, let's be honest. I was a little disappointed in myself, but I was also proud of myself for making the decision that was ultimately best for me and not giving a fuck about what anybody else thought about me actually quitting. And it made me realize that, look, this was something that sounded cool, but when it came down to it, I didn't think through, or I guess believe, when I was hearing the brain fog and not being as sharp as normal and all of that, would actually happen to me as if I was some kind of like superhuman, bulletproof person. And so, it wasn't worth it to me. For me, my ability to serve others and make an impact comes first, right? And if I am cranky, if I'm not on point, if I don't have optimal energy and brain fog and can't show up optimally for the people who are investing in us, myself, our services, that's no dice. And to me, that is a hard line in the sand and non-negotiable. So I quit, and it was okay. Recently as well, and I can't remember what year this was, within the last few years, maybe, I have no concept of time, I also quit being on a board. I resigned. And old me would have never done that. I would have bent over backwards, killed myself, whatever you have, jumped through hoops of fire to just make everything work so that I didn't ripple feather. That's the wrong saying, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. And not to upset someone or let down on one of my commitments. And I ended up resigning from this board because I realized that there was a misalignment of values. There were things going on that I really didn't agree with, and I didn't want my name and brand to be associated with something that could potentially be of liability or risk. Now, going in, everything sounded groovy, great, believed in it, but then, under the surface, there was some stuff that I'm like, I don't know if this is kosher. I don't really know if it is compliant with a nonprofit board, and so on. And so I quit. And it felt shitty to do that as well. And I loved the women who were involved. I think that for me, it was just something I wasn't willing to take a risk on. And again, I had to stand firm. I had to have an incredibly uncomfortable conversation. And it was also at a time where I really didn't have the time to dig in and make it right or figure it out. I was really feeling quite tapped. And so I made the choice to say, you know what, this isn't my mountain to climb right now. I am going to gracefully resign. And I understood that I would piss people off in the process, but it was one of those protective moments where I had to do the thing that was best for me. It wasn't my time to be superwoman or anything like that. I really had to be protective of that bubble. And there's been many other times too in business where, quite frankly, it took me too long to quit when we were doing some kind of new marketing plan or business move. And the reason it took me too long back then to quit is I was like, oh my gosh, I've invested so much time and money and let's be real, we've all done this, right? Where we keep going with something, even if the idea sucks because of all the time that we had put into it prior, right? That sunk cost fallacy, if you will. And so it is important to know that if you quit fast or fail fast, right? That's huge, because I'll say, I've said this so many times, it's like, if you want success, you have to fail, and you have to fail a lot. If you want quicker success, fail more, right? And I think that comes down to time. And so whether it's a project or even an employee, right, where we, again, can say with an employee, and it might be the wrong person, and we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole because we've invested so much time, training, love into this employee, but they just aren't the right fit, man. They might be a great person, but not the great person for your company. And so release them into the workforce for somebody else to pick up and let it go. So this is so important for you to maybe just revisit if there's some things going on right now that you just got to release or quit, or perhaps you're thinking about it, or you have in the past, and there's some residual guilt around it. Quitting can be powerful and a good thing. It helps us to move on. It helps us to become more aligned, and be careful of the things too that you might not even recognize right now that you should quit. So whether that is an initiative, a project that isn't going as planned and you really need to pivot or a redirection, or someone on your team, we can be blind to our own blindness easily because of the past investment that we have in an initiative or a person. So my powerhouses. I hope that this was a friendly little reminder for you. And until next time, continue to be courageous.